Hey, it's Thomas Mulready from CoolCleveland.com, and we're here today at MOCA Cleveland, and we're here with artist Kate Gilmore. Kate, thanks so much for taking time to talk.
Thank you for coming.
I don't know whether to call you a performance artist, a visual artist, a sculptor. You really confound our expectations. How do you define yourself?
I think I walk between all these different things. So I guess I do sculpture, I do video, performance. There's a conversation with painting, so it's kind of a mix of lots of different things.
A conversation with it, yes. You seem to have, I don't know, maybe a little energy there around paint. You're using paint here in this piece that you performed, and it's interesting, you don't really do it with an audience. You're creating a video when you do this performance, where you walk up these steps and kick these pots of paint. What is your relationship with oil paint?
Well, this is latex. But I mean, I have done a couple of these paint pieces, and this is the most ambitious one for sure. But I think, dealing with that very intense art historical dialogue with like a Macho painting is something I'm very interested in, and in terms of like loving it and also hating it in the same moment.
Okay. And you're talking about the male action painters, the Jackson Pollock kind of thing. What is your take on all that? Because they were huge and famous and male and yes, very macho.
Yes. Well, I love the energy of it. An abstract expressionist. I love it, but also it's funny. It's hilarious. These kinds of myths that we've made of these artists. We see like Jackson Pollock in his studio and he's just throwing the paint around. And so I think for me, taking these really decorative pots, like something like Martha Stewart would have on her like dining room table, and filling them with this paint and doing this pretty macho thing, stereotypically, but also making it kind of easy and funny at the same time.
So humor is a big part of it as well. Feminism is a big part of it. You're dressed in a dress and high-heeled shoes. What do you consider yourself, a feminist, second generation, third generation? Because they all sort of take it in different directions.
Right. Yeah. I guess I never really understood the difference. Of course I understand the difference, but I feel like feminism is feminism. So it's I don't really know where I stand. Of course, this work is dealing with issues of being a woman and doing these things, but I just think that's part of. I'm supposed to follow you, right? I just think that's one part of the conversation for sure with the piece. But it's definitely there is a feminist conversation with the work for sure.
So when you started in sculpture and visual arts at the School of Visual Arts in New York, was where you first got going, what was your relationship with art at that time? Is that where these feelings started to occur, where you said, I really need to address some of these things that I really can't address with just straight visual arts?
I think it's just what the work I was making wasn't really dynamic enough. So the things that I was interested in, they weren't coming out in terms of the objects. So it was just figuring out how to get that energy of making and process into my work, which wasn't showing because it was just like finished products. And I was interested in that kind of chaos of the studio. But then also like getting like the humor out and being witty, but also being smart and funny and all these different things. And it just wasn't working with just object making. So video was a really good answer to kind of combining all those different elements.
So you're controlling it by the video because you're doing it in advance. There's no editing or anything, so there's still the chance element there. Why don't you take it public, though? If you have such a great humorous personality and witty, I would think that would go over really well in a live setting.
Well, then I should do stand-up comedy. So I guess I do live performances with large groups of women, which we might do one here. I'm not sure what's happening with that. But for me, it's just, when it comes down to it, I'm kind of a little bit of a formalist, probably a lot of a formalist. So the videos, the way they look are really important. And there's this very strong aesthetic that goes on with the way these things are shot. And when you do live performance, you just can't get that kind of result. So that's probably my old school fine arts background, the sculpture coming back. But so for me, it's really important that we have these kind of beautiful objects after as well, like that they're engaging and that they can relate to people on a they can, you can have this one-on-one relationship with a video. You can like stand in front of it and you think that you're sort of there with this person.
Right. Talk about what you're doing here in Cleveland. You did this performance to create the video. You're doing a talk. You're going to be working with the Cleveland Institute of Art students as well and coming back later while this show is still up, right?
Well, that's still in process. We're not sure about that. So we still have to figure a lot of that out. Maybe. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd like to. Well, but there's, lots of logistical things to deal with. Right. But possibly a performance downstairs. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
talk about the state of performance art, I have to ask because we did this big festival years ago, and you're getting shown in a lot of different places, in a lot of visual arts places. You're having tremendous success with this, and whether you consider yourself a performance artist or not, it is still carrying that banner forward. So what is the state of all that now? Is it sort of just passé and now it's back to the gallery, or is this just a new realm? Is video, is internet, you know, the way to go?
Well, it's interesting because, I mean, performance is really kind of, I mean, I've been doing it, I guess, a long time, but now, like, the younger people are coming up, and they're definitely much more integrated than, let's say, I'm more affiliated with, like, museums and institutions. I do some commercial stuff, but it is definitely institutional to the majority. But the younger kids are, you know, performance is really everywhere. I mean, and the question is it good performance? Is it bad performance? I mean, I don't know. Every painter's making a performance now, and every sculptor's making a performance. So the people like, you know, your festival who had been doing this a long time, I mean, actually the question should be asked of you. Like, what do you think of performance right now? For me, it's always great to see performance, but it's also, when you see someone who's been doing performance for a really long time and is very invested in that language, I think there's a big difference than people who sort of dabble in it because that's what sort of, like, they need a performance for an opening or something like that.
It is. It's convenient. And these techniques, the vocabulary of performance is just embedded everywhere. It's in TV commercials, it's on the web, it's in websites and mobile and gaming. So it's sort of the success of performance art after all these years when it was really struggling and it was more, you know, marginalized. Now it's very mainstream, I think.
Yeah, which, you know, the question, mainstream, the question is that good for a performance? Because performance, we all know historically, has been a place of rebellion and a place for political discourse and to sort of fight a system and to a certain extent. So what happens when performance becomes part of a system? So that's another interview for Cool Cleveland.
Thanks so much, Kate. Sure. You're absolutely right. And I'd love to talk again when you come back. So let's stay in touch. Good luck here in Cleveland. The piece looks beautiful. I was watching the video. It's awesome. Thanks to MOCA for bringing you guys in.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see what you're going to do next.
Cool. Thank you.
Hey, it's Thomas Mulready from CoolCleveland.com. Have a great week in Cool Cleveland.